Relying on you to click on the link when it's time that I use for my YouTube video, if that's okay.
I can click on it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we're recording and we're good to go. So, yeah. Hello, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are going to talk to you about single reed care. So reeds for clarinets and saxophones. And we're going to talk to you about how to take care of them, how to get yourself set up, and how to sound even better than you already do. So first, we're going to introduce ourselves.
Hi, I'm Ella. I'm a junior. I'm getting a BA in music with a performance certificate, and I'm pre-law, and my primary instrument is clarinet.
My name is Thomas Drummond, and I'm currently a senior music education student. My primary instrument is saxophone.
My name is Jared, and I'm a first-year master's student in performance, and my primary instrument is clarinet.
My name is Ryan Pereira. I'm a first-year doctoral student in performance. My primary instrument is also clarinet.
My name is Kylie. I'm a fifth-year music education major, and I also am a clarinet major.
Hi, my name is Coleman Wright. I am a senior music ed major, and I play the saxophone.
Hi, I'm Shelby Worst. I am a senior music education major and my primary is clarinet.
Great. So we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to start with what you need. We're going to talk about reeds, how to choose them, what else you need to be successful. We're going to talk about your setup, different options that you have. And then we're going to talk about once you get set up, how you can really fine tune all of your skills as far as reed care.
Great. So I'm going to start us out by talking about some basic equipment you'll need. First, you're going to need a reed case, and you don't want to use the little plastic reed cases that the reeds come in the box. Instead, you want a reed case where your reeds are able to lie flat, but also breathe from the flat side that they're laying on. In addition to that, you're going to want humidity packs to keep a regulated amount of moisture in your reed case. You're also going to want a pill bottle or cup to soak your reeds in, because you always want to soak them in water, not your saliva. So now I'm going to show you what's in my bag of essential reed stuff. So first I have my reed case, and inside I've got all my reeds and a humidity pack underneath. Then I have extra humidity packs for when mine dries out and I need to replace it. And then last but not least, the pill bottle with water to soak your reeds. That's all.
So I'm going to share my screen again.
Okay, so obviously for a single reed instrument, we're going to need to buy reeds in order to play them. And on screen are three main brands of different types of reeds. The first one is the Rico Orange Box reed, and I recommend getting this for beginner single reed students. And the reason for that is it's the cheapest option out of the three given today. And the reason for that is that beginners will most likely not take very good care of the reeds and will break them really often. And there's no point in getting more expensive reeds if you're just going to break them. So that's a good one for beginners. And the other two brands for a step up in quality and also price are Van Doren and D'Addario. Now, two Van Doren reeds are the Van Doren Blue Box and the Van Doren V12. Both are very good reeds. And then for D'Addario, you have the D'Addario Reserve and the D'Addario Reserve Classics. And now on the back of the reeds, the flat part of it, you'll see a little number written on the back. And generally, it'll be between 2.5 and 3.5. They do come in smaller numbers and larger numbers. But this number is the density of the wood or the thickness. And now the higher the number, will determine a harder reed, and smaller the number will determine a soft reed. And in order to determine what strength you should play on, if a reed is too hard, then it'll sound stuffy and be hard to play. And if a reed is too soft, it'll sound bright and reedy and will be very easy to play. You want to find a reed strength that is a good fit for you, that is somewhere in the middle.
Okay, so let's talk about a setup. So when I talk about a setup, I'm referring to your mouthpiece, your reed, and your ligature. So first, even if you have the best reed in the world or the best mouthpiece, if you don't set it up correctly, it's not going to play correctly. So first, make sure the tip of the reed is lined up with the tip of the mouthpiece, and the butt or the bottom of the reed is lined up with the table of the mouthpiece. It should be even side to side. Then your ligature, the screws always go on the right side, even if it's inverted or non-inverted, unless it's a ligature like mine where they're on the back. And the screws should be finger tight. So it should be loose enough for the reed to be able to vibrate, but tight enough to hold the reed on even if you move the mouthpiece. So now let's talk about equipment. So for ligatures on saxophones and clarinets, they can come in metal, leather, or cloth, and in string. So some of the recommendations I have for the Bonade inverted and non-inverted ligatures, they're metal. Rovner makes some good cloth ligatures. D'Addario has their H series ligature that's metal as well. Van Doren, I recommend their Optimum or MO series. They're both metal ligatures. BG, they make both metal and cloth ligatures, but I recommend their Duo series, their metal one. And then Silverstein is one of the more expensive ones, and it's a string ligature, and that's what I have on my mouthpiece in the picture. So now mouthpieces, they also come in different materials. So for both clarinet and saxophone, you have plastic and hard rubber. And then for clarinet, you have crystal mouthpieces, and saxophones, you can use metal mouthpieces. So some of the brands I recommend are D'Addario and Van Doren. Those are good for both clarinet and saxophone. And they range from beginner mouthpieces up to advanced intermediate, and they're usually pretty well priced. They're not more expensive. Now the rest of them are clarinet mouthpieces. So Clark, Phobes, and Bakun, they both make beginner mouthpieces all the way up to pro mouthpieces that are hand finished. And now James Pine and Ramon Wadkowski are the two handmade mouthpieces that I recommend. I play on a Pine mouthpiece, and Wadkowski is also very well. These are can be personalized and handmade, and they are also very expensive.
So aside from cane reeds, synthetic reeds have been becoming a more prominent option in recent years, and about the last 5 years, they become a go-to for a lot of pro players even. So it's definitely worth consideration. Now something that's very important is which brand you choose if you were to buy a synthetic reed. Legere, which is a Canadian-based company, seems to be the go-to option for a lot of players in the clarinet and saxophone industry. But it's also worth considering brands such as Silverstein, Fibersol, and Hartmann. Fibersol and Hartmann being especially prominent in the saxophone, the jazz saxophone world. So finding the right strength for your mouthpiece is pretty vital with synthetics. So if it's too hard, the number on the reed is too high, it's going to tend to be hard to vibrate. It's going to be inflexible, just generally difficult to make a sound. But on the other side of the spectrum, if it's a too soft a reed, it can get really bright and plasticky in sound. And finding the happy middle ground is very important for these sorts of reeds. So rather than 5 or 10 coming in a pack, it's usually one reed that comes every time you buy one from wherever. And so despite it being one reed, it still tends to run about $30 to $35. But on the other side of the coin, they tend to last significantly longer compared to cane reeds. So it tends to make your money back in that way. So for maintenance with synthetic reeds, these don't absorb moisture at all like cane reeds do. So you can easily be able to take them to the sink after you finish playing or do a couple sessions and wash them with a mild detergent such as hand soap, and a lot of the grime will just come right off. It's a fairly slick surface, so anything that's stuck on there will come right off. You don't have to worry about any molding issues, which can happen with some over-humidified reeds, cane reeds, that is. And for rotation, despite these reeds lasting for so long, if you play them a lot in one sitting, they will get pretty tired and they'll soften up in strength, and the tone might get a little bit more brittle sounding. So they tend to need a little bit of time to relax and kind of spring back to their original form. So I'd recommend at least 24 hours of a time period to get them to rejuvenate themselves. And then you can have approximately 2 to 4 other reeds ready to go where you can cycle through them so they last very, very long. So going back to Legere for a moment, they have a very nice exchange policy. So let's say if you were to purchase a reed that was way too hard for your mouthpiece setup, you could just send it back to Canada and they'll send you new reeds in your preferred strength. So if it's a little hard, let's say you buy a 4 and you can get a 3.75 or 3.5, and they'll just send them no questions asked. And you're able to do this for 5 reeds over the course of each year. So pros and cons of synthetics. The pros, there's no break-in process necessary. There's no warping, so the back will remain flat for the entire life of the reed without it changing. They offer instant playability. So if you really wanted to, you could just pull one right out and play recital on it. And then they're much longer lasting. So I've had some synthetic reeds that lasted close to 2 years now, actually. If you really rotate them properly and keep them well maintained, they could really surprise you in that regard. Some cons to them, they can sound plasticky on some setups, and plasticky meaning they're very bright, kind of brittle sort of sound. So matching them to an appropriate mouthpiece is pretty important for synthetic reeds. They have to really balance one another very well. They are expensive per reed, but as I mentioned, because of how long they last, it tends to make up the difference in cost very well. And you must be very careful not to break them. Synthetics tend to have, they can develop splits at the tip, especially if you, say, hit it with your ligature when you're trying to install it. And once they do chip or split, they're never quite the same afterwards. So it's definitely worthwhile being careful with these, especially if you have young students who might not be the most careful with their reeds.
Awesome. So if you do decide to go the route of cane reeds as opposed to synthetic reeds, something that you'll find to be very helpful to help your reed to be more reliable is going through a break-in process. Now, everyone that has played on a single reed instrument has probably experienced the absolute misery of having to deal with cane reeds. They're super inconsistent. Sometimes they're stuffy, sometimes they're soft, sometimes you can't get a good sound out of it. Some days you have your best day of playing ever. Going through a break-in process will help you make sure that you have more of your best days ever than your worst, and it'll make them play more consistently, be less affected by weather, everything like that. It's also going to help your reeds to last longer, and they'll be a lot more easy and comfortable to play. So there are 2 different ways that you can go about breaking in your reeds properly. One of them is what I'll call the playing method. The other is the soaking method. And I'll talk a little bit about how you know when your reeds are broken in. So for the playing method, you can start just by playing on each reed 5 to 10 minutes a day, no more. Do that every day for 2 to 4 weeks. Now, if you can't do it every day, that's probably going to take more on the 4-week end of things. After that, you can kind of start to slowly increase how much you're playing your reeds. You can kind of tell if they're ready to stop if they start to get waterlogged. So that means that they're really not wanting to vibrate. If you take a look at the reed, you'll see that it's almost translucent at the tip. That's because it's absorbed a lot of saliva. It's much better for your reed to be soaked in water as opposed to be soaked in saliva, because saliva is much more heavy and it has a lot of enzymes in it that can break down and weigh down the reed. Now, this method can take a while, and it sometimes isn't quite as effective as the soaking method, which does take a long time, but it is very worth it and has a lot of really great proven benefits. So if you look below, you will see the basic gist of it. You're going to soak each reed in water for 5 minutes, 3 to 5 times daily. And you're going to want to do that for about 2 to 4 weeks. Again, if you aren't super good about, if you're not super good about going through that process every day and enough times every day, it is going to take a little bit longer. So you'll notice that when you first, you're going to want to use like that pill bottle that you have, like Ella talked about, and you're going to stick your reed in there. And you'll notice that when you stick your reed in with the tip down, the skinny side down, almost immediately water will be sucked up all the way up to the butt of the reed, and you'll see that it's very quickly, just within seconds, becomes fully saturated with water. So if we look back on our previous page and you see this top picture, it's green. That is actually a cross section of a reed underneath a microscope. And you'll see there are a bunch of small holes and a lot of larger holes. Those larger holes are what in the plant, the actual plant, that's what carries up water. And after the cane is cut and turned into a reed for playing, those tubes still will carry water. And you don't want that to happen, because the more water that it soaks up, the more it's going to weigh down your reed. So the whole point of a break-in process is closing up those holes, so that way your reed is very strong and it doesn't get weighed down. After you've soaked your reeds for 5 minutes, you're going to want to take them out of the water, give them a careful shake, and then you're going to lay them out with the curved side down on the table. So you can see in this picture, do you see how the flat side is facing up? You want to make sure that your flat side is facing up, and that's going to make sure that you have as much of the surface area as possible exposed to let it dry. So let it dry for about an hour, do it for about 2 to 4 weeks. You can tell when it's done when no water reaches all the way up through the butt of the reed after the full 5 minutes of soaking. And after that, for a couple days, start playing each reed 5 to 10 minutes a day. They'll still be a little funky and they're still going to need a little bit of help, but you'll find that it really helps soften up the reeds. It helps make them a lot more consistent. They're going to feel a lot smoother. As you start playing them, you're going to want to weed out reeds that are too soft. If the first time you play it, it feels amazing and perfect and you can play it super easy, it's probably too soft and it's probably going to die pretty soon. You also want to get rid of reeds that are poorly cut. So you may notice when you have your reed, if you look at the front of the reed, the part of the reed that you can see when you have it on your clarinet or on your saxophone, you'll see that there's kind of like a U where the reed was cut. If that is off center, chances are it's probably not going to be a very good reed. You can test it. Maybe it's going to be okay, but odds are that won't be a very good one. And again, it's a very long process, but you'll find that if you take the time to do it, it'll really be worth the wait. And it will help reeds to not be your enemy.
Great. So a concept that is important for cane reeds is the concept of adjusting your reeds. Now, why do we adjust our reeds? Well, since cane reeds are organic and they're a kind of wood, what does wood do? Well, it warps when it becomes exposed to moisture. And so what does warping look like? Well, it can either warp in a convex manner or a concave manner. When a reed has warped convexly, the center of the reed is raised from the sides of it. And then when a reed has warped in a concave manner, the sides of the reeds are raised and the center is lower than the sides. So how do we adjust that? Well, we sand our reeds so that they're flat, and reeds do need to be flat so that they vibrate at their maximum efficiency. So what do we need for sanding? Well, we need some sandpaper. It needs to be very fine grit and at least 600 counts. And then we need a flat surface like a small piece of glass or a hand mirror. Now, a flat surface does not mean a table or a book, because a glass and mirror are much more likely to be completely flat. You need a completely flat surface. Now, I do have a demonstration on how to sand our reeds. So Kylie, if you would click the link, please. Hello everyone, today I'm going to be demonstrating how to sand our reeds so that they are flat. So first what we want to do is we need a piece of paper, we need a piece of glass, and
some sandpaper. Okay. So what I want to do is put the piece of paper on the piece of glass and put the reed flat side down. Now we need the piece of paper because it's sort of difficult to rub a reed back and forth on a piece of glass. So the paper just allows us to do that easier. So what we want to do is rub the reed back and forth on the glass with a bit of force for at least a minute, okay? Back and forth, back and forth. Now you can do circles, clockwise, counterclockwise, up and down, side to side, however you want to do it. And then once you've done that, you'll be able to see if the reed is warped. Now, like we've discussed before, either the left and right sides of the reed will be shiny or the center will be shiny. Whichever bit of the reed is shine, that means it's touching, okay? And the bits of it that are not shining are not touching, okay? So this reed, I don't know if you can see that well from the camera, but the center of it is shining, so that means it's raised from the rest of it. So what we want to do now is take our sandpaper and adjust it. Now, you don't want to rub the entire reed along the sandpaper like this, okay? You only want to rub up until maybe right there or so. If you rub or take cane off too close to the tip, it will greatly affect the sound of the reed. It'll be quite bright because you're taking cane off away from the tip. So what you want to do is just take little small strides off of the cane, maybe 3 or 4 times, maybe even 5 even, just about that much. You see how much of the cane I'm taking off? And then I would suggest only doing it maybe 5 strides of the sandpaper at a time, and then play testing the reed after that. And then check your work by repeating the process, okay? So that is how we adjust our reeds using sandpaper.
All right, so now we're gonna go over some daily read routines. So this is majority after you've already done all the hard work that Kylie talked about. You have soaked your reeds, you have several that are soaking, you have some that you are testing out, and you have a couple that are good to go, a couple of like your perfect reeds. So first I'm gonna talk about a reed cycle. So reeds will die very fast if you play on them every day, continuous, only one reed. As I talked about before, saliva helps the reed decay even faster. So the more you play it, so the more in your mouth, the more the reed's going to decay. So with this, you need to have multiple reeds in each of the sections of the process. So you need to have multiple reeds soaking, you need to have multiple reeds you're testing, and you still need to have those couple of reeds that are like good to go that you can play on. But you need to make sure that you're not playing on the same one every day. So you kind of need like a reed cycle, a rotation. And just some like daily things that like you should always do. Like you are opening up your clarinet or your saxophone and you are about to play. Like what are the first couple things that you do? First thing, you're gonna get your little pill bottle, and you're going to throw whatever reed you are using for the day in the pill bottle. You're not gonna throw it in your mouth. Pill bottle, and that will saturate the reed. Hopefully not too much because you've already gone through the breaking process, but that will get you ready while you set up your instrument. And you can get one of these from like a CVS, just go up and say like, "Can I have an empty pill bottle?" They'll be like, "Sure, you must play an instrument." So that's where you get those. And you want to make sure that you don't eat before you play, because then all of that icky stuff that you are eating goes right into like your instrument, and it gets behind your reed, and it's just gross. Do not do it. You want to make sure that you're not playing for too long on the reed. There's a fly. Or else it will be waterlogged. That's when saliva builds up in the tip of the reed. So you want to make sure that you're playing not for several hours straight, or else it will build up. And you also don't, your hands are dirty. There are dirt all over your hands. So when you take the reed, you're not going to be rubbing it in with like your hand. Like Coleman showed you, you're rubbing it on like paper, on top of glass. You're not just using your fingers, and your all the dirt gets into the reed and just makes it break down even faster. So you just want to take really, really good care of your reeds, because this is what's going to make or break how you sound and how you play.
I was muted. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. We hope that some of these resources were helpful to you as you're figuring out how to be successful as a player of such finicky instruments as the clarinet and the saxophone. I believe this is going to be posted on YouTube, so if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and we'll do our best to keep an eye on it and to answer those questions for you. You can also reach out to the School of Music, and they can put you in contact with us if you're interested in learning more, or if you're interested in taking lessons. Professor Joe Eller and Dr. Cliff Lehman are also really great resources. They can get you connected with us. They can get you connected with great teachers who can teach you more about how to take care of your reeds, take care of your instrument, and become a great player. So thank you so much for watching.